the first call, plus time to take a look at some races on the undercard, starting with Trentham race number 3, where for me one of the better bets of the day comes up in Rosewood, gets 4 kilos off down to 59, 321.40. Glory Days is a little shorter though, Bill Thurlow and Zinjate Moki down to 55, 680 for Classic Touch, and then we've got Voracious, Sophia Magia and Pinsrad, all within $1.50 of each. Rosewood up the top of the book here. Jason Tan has the blinkers going on, has trialled.
Blinkers a big addition to her gear. She's had all of her success in blinkers. Whilst I haven't seen the trial during the week, I understand that it was good enough. Obviously, she's lining up on Saturday, so they'll be happy enough. The run at Te Rapa prior actually had a lot more merit than first glance suggested it would. Wiramu Pin riding in good form. She's just so well graded. Okay, she has to carry 59, but she's coming into this so well graded, rating 75. And look, Glory Days is a horse that's sort of on the rise. She's got a bit about her, and I think the 1400 suits her, but Rosewood just looks so well placed in the race.
I know what you're saying, but I do think Glory Days is an open class horse in the making. I think eventually it'll end up an open class, and I don't mind backing horses who might be a little bit higher in the handicaps than you would like if you think they're heading in that right direction. And Zinjate claims 3, which works out pretty well. So look, I think it's a race in 2, but I'm happy to back Glory Days the other way. You might be able to make yourself a book and back both of them. I'm a huge fan of having 4 units on one and 2 units on another, one being a chop out and one being a good victory. And this is that type of race for me.
Is there anything else that catches the eye on that race, playing multiples?
If you go back a little bit in the form, a horse like Duya was pretty competitive with Rosewood, but that is going back. Rosewood's gone one way and Duya's sort of been very much at that one level, but she has shown on occasions that she can cop a heavy track. She's 4th up, so she's got a good enough base of fitness, so it wouldn't be a massive upset if she got through things with that apprentice allowance of Alex Shin and was competitive. That can happen at Trentham. I think on the first call I said something about Brother One being sort of marked 1,000 to 1. Well, you can't simply mark horses 1,000 to 1 because of the variable of heavy tracks and as much what others will do compared to what the horse itself does.
How do we play the race?
I'll back them both. But I like Glory Days more only because it's a horse. About the 3rd starter had this is an open class horse, and I've seen nothing yet to convince me otherwise, even though I think it still needs to strengthen up for another 6 months.
You're suggested?
I'm happy with Rosewood. Yeah, Rosewood is the bet there.
Let's go to race number 5. This is the Trentham Gold Cup over 2,100 metres. $4 for Princess Dylan, Master Pat 520, 7s for Sylvester and 750 Trisha Lee. Jason, this grade over this trip around the Central Districts is, I feel personally, one of the hardest to try and line up in the country. It seems to be so varied and they kind of take their turns a wee bit.
Oh, I think the 75 middle distance, sort of 2,000 metre, 2,100 across the country falls into that category. Princess Dylan has a lot of upside about her. She's a staying daughter of Dylan Thomas, who was, I thought, exceptionally good fresh up here at New Plymouth. She stuck to her guns. In testing enough conditions. She's going to come on from this. Like, I think she presents as a really good bet in the race to win.
I think there's 3 things in play here. This is a decent horse, and the Dylan Thomas has clearly copped the wet track. Jonathan Parks obviously is an outstanding rider, so that helps. What a lot of people won't know yet, but they will know in 4 or 5 years, is that Joseph Waldron's a good trainer. Like, he's got a good equine background behind him. He's been well taught in the training ranks. He's a guy who's going to end up training good horses. When that happens, this will be the first of them.
And I think that she is an example of what he's been doing very well. To produce a horse fresh up on a heavy 11 at New Plymouth, having come back from a 3,200 metre race, we lauded Raymond Connors for doing that with She's Poppy. And so he deserves as many plaudits.
Have you met Joseph? Spent any time talking to him?
I haven't met him properly. I haven't had a drink with him.
Smart young guy and a horseman. Like, understands the horses of all levels. So, as I said, I'd be happy to have a horse with him. He's that sort of trainer. That's how highly I rate him.
All right, Jason Tan might take a share with you. Let's head to Pukekohe and head to the first race on the card and get a bit of an overview of this. The Versatile Homes and Buildings 2,100, Roger that, 330. A little shorter is Princess LJ for Sam Weatherly, claiming a kilo down to 53.5. Delegate 650, Don't Break My Heart 750, and Banbury Lad at $8.20. Banbury Lad, a horse who will well and truly cop track conditions. 2,100 metres here, Michael. No rider down for suggestive heights. What did you think when you first saw this lineup?
Look, all weekend, I don't want to back horses carrying top weights unless they won like this last start. I mean, look at this. It's absolutely smashed them. Yes, it's gone up a touch in the weights, but not dramatically. It's not like a 4 or 5 kilo swing on the second and third horses. It's just set up at the end. It's bolted in. 59 isn't a huge impost, and Trudy Thornton's a wonderful rider on any track conditions, but she's a genius in the wet. I think it'll just win again.
One of the funny things about that horse is that all of his wins have come at Te Awamutu. There's something about the nature of the track, and on varying track conditions, but the nature of the shape of the track, I don't know. The nature of the tempo.
Some horses hate Te Awamutu.
Well, he's 4 from 4 there. So that's very much he's very much sort of a fan of that track. Quite a different track, Pukekohe, compared to that. Banbury Lad is a horse that could come to form quite quickly in really testing conditions. You know, with Rudy Lefting, that there'll be a good base of fitness around Banbury Lad, and you'd expect that hurdles or steeplechase fences will be the goal at some point. But it wouldn't surprise me after that Rotorua run that over ground he can perform pretty well. Admiral won that race. It's not a bad sort of race.
What do you make of Princess LJ?
Look, I thought it was a good last start. I'm not entirely sure it's going to cop this version of heavy because it's going to be awfully, awfully deep. So when I did the form, I thought to myself, I'm just going to try and find other horses to beat Roger that. And I thought very quickly, why am I going to bother? I like the toppy, just stay with it. It just won so easily the last two.
Roger, that's...
Well, it's 3:30.
Jotting that down?
Yeah.
I've got your mobile number if it gets beat.
Well, it's good. I ignore your calls regardless, so there's actually no point ringing Matthew.
Funny thing is,
your name isn't Matt Cross on my phone, it's do not answer.
Yeah.
So when you ring me, it comes up do not answer.
You answer every time.
Yeah.
He answers every time.
No, I don't.
I don't answer him. Roger that. Okay, let's move on to the Martin Smoky Morgan 1200. This is a nice field. Wooden Edge, fresh up. Gets 3 kilos off, $4.80. Just a Canter 520. We'll highlight that in a moment. And Bella Joya, a horse who's only had 13 starts, one of those placed in 1,000 guineas. Is she any chance of hitting back to that form, Michael?
Look, we've been waiting and waiting, but we're still waiting. And with fillies and mares in particular, when you wait too long, you start to think, maybe not. I do like one of this race. No Need loves a wet track. One of my favourite trainers in Lee Somerville this time of the year. Went to the trials at Cambridge and beat 2 good horses and beat them very well. Both of them raced in the previous race, Longchamp and New York Minute. Matt Cameron, the wide draw looks bad on paper. I don't think it's bad at all. It's my pick in the race, but here's something a bit more recent from some of the rivals.
Yeah, Just a Canter got positional advantage on Bella Joya, and he was actually pretty good the closing 75 metres, and it's probably that closing 75 metres that's a concern for a horse like Bella Joya. She's sort of getting there and she's getting close to the fight, but she's not winning many fights.
Well, her win-loss ratio in the last 10 starts suggests you can't start taking shorter odds. She's one of those horses' reputation's so big that she tends to start a touch of unders. I'm not saying No Need will beat these horses, but on its trial, No Need's a horse you need to follow over the winter, and it might just come out here and actually be a pretty good open class horse in a non-open class field. This is a rating 75. It comes in very well with.
Is she better left-handed, Bella Joya? You see her in that replay, she wants to get down the track. All of her form's left-handed.
Possibly, but I suppose that's the outside fence of a right-handed track, so it's maybe in her head it's virtually left-handed, I don't know, but like she's living off the Gold Trail 4th after back-to-backing them in 2016. So she's obviously got a lot of talent, but she hasn't pushed on and won races. One of the people that have backed her to win races.
One of the great misnomers in racing is early season 3-year-old filly form. Sometimes it stacks up beautifully. Sometimes there's horses who go to the Gold Trail in those races and you go, wow, how good did it go? And they're still maidens or one-win horses 2 years later.
Well, would it be fair to say this year's 3-year-old form is stacked up? You look at Bella Joya's year, La Diosa comes out of that. She's not a superstar as a 4-year-old.
One of the Honey Rider, I think, won the Gold Trail about 18 months ago, and Glass Slipper went super in behind it, finishing 2nd or 3rd.
Has it won a maiden yet?
Well, I think it did win a maiden at Alizé once, and I think that's about the lot of it. So that early season 3-year-old form, and that's why so often we're seeing now the 3-year-old filly of the year is actually a horse who started to come to the fore, like Bonnevale. post-Christmas. Now, this year Dijon Bleu was different. It raced extremely well over the entire body of the season. But it is a misnomer if you hold on to horses expecting their 3-year-old filly form to make them a good 4-year-old mare.
There are plenty of chances in this race. No need, as Michael mentioned. The only concern that I might have with him is that he has shown that he works his way into form in a preparation. He doesn't really go bang fresh up. And saying that, when he has been fresh the last couple of years, it hasn't been on heavy tracks.
Yeah, I was going more on that trial.
Yeah, 100%.
But I agree. I don't really like backing horses fresh up. But I think Matt's riding really well. He rode beautifully at Hawke's Bay yesterday.
And has drawn wide, which is a positive. Other horses that will come to hand pretty quickly in these conditions are horses like Kensington, who was disappointing last start. Solmisation.
We had a go at him.
Last preparation,
campaign, didn't we?
Yeah. So Solmisation, Wood and Edge trialled up really well, and then you've got Selwood, who is deeper into his preparation and has shown that he can cope with really testing conditions, and Irish Mist. So
let's be honest, it's a race where if a 40 to 1 chance won, you wouldn't go, well, couldn't see that possibly happening. Where there's some races this weekend with 4 or 5 or 6 horse fields where, like the 2-year-old race, you'd be stunned if there was a big upset. But this could be a blowout race, and there'd be no rhyme or reason to it.
I totally agree. And you could look at the form line and say, oh, well, I missed that, and that was obviously more significant than I thought. So I agree totally.
Another fairly open go is race number 7 at Pukekohe. Good last start winner, Touch of Silver, $5. Also Lady Painton, $5. An ambitious winner, $3.30. Grand Brio, $5.50. Another grade that's sort of tricky to work out, Michael. 3.30 ambitious winner. It's got the credentials.
And again, it's a Baker Forsman horse, so once they're tight in the market, they don't tend to move out much. Jonathan Riddell's been a really good addition to their stable, not saying that he works there, but he rides a lot for them now, and particularly this time of year, strong rider. This is a horse who puts itself there and keeps on trucking, and it's got to end up in open class. Look, clearly it's going to be a danger. I think they expected Grand Rio to go better on this day, but Jason, for me it was a total forgive day. Horses who didn't perform to expectation at Rotorua on this day, I'm willing to forgive, because it was like the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't a bad performance from Grand Rio. I think maybe what happened is that the start before he maybe went better than expectation at Te Rapa, and then, yeah, probably slightly below expectation, but overall, if you look at how he's trialled, I think he's going to be ready to run really well.
Do you want to go into a weirder spot of the Twilight Zone? is the fact that Touch of Silver won a race by 14.5 lengths.
And everyone missed it.
Well, it's won by 14.5 lengths, and it's $5 in this field. Now,
And not only that, at Rotorua, that was hard up on the rail.
Yeah, so
when everything ended up coming wide.
In the last decade in New Zealand, gallopers who have won on the flat by 14.5 lengths, there wouldn't have been 10 of them. Would not have been 10. 14.5 lengths on the flat. Even a steeplechase by 14.5 lengths, you won by a mile.
I reckon the last horse that I can remember that did that was maybe Peso at Rotorua, where it just kept rolling. It wasn't quite 14.5, might have been half that, but it's still a long way. But yeah, 100% of
it's
the 14.
40 metres.
Yeah.
Here's Lady Painton. And
that's an opportunist, this horse, isn't it?
I'll ask you a question, and answer this honestly with no bias, because we're not trying to upset anybody. Do you back the Orchard Richards horses less on heavy tracks? Once it gets to winter, do you just not respect, for a want of a better word, their horses as much as you do in summer, because they're so potent in summer?
I would say I'm honestly Baker Forsman all the way if I'm having a bet on heavy tracks in the north.
Someone not
no
least,
disrespect to
someone not
Tiaki.
least Somerville comes into play for me, and whereas in winter I'm not a huge pikey man, and when I see an Orchard Richards horse on heavy tracks, I go, it must be one of the ones who.
Well, you touched on it on the first call proper when you said that their model is different.
Yeah.
So they're very well bred. Their expectation is that they're aimed around the 2 and 3 year old Group 1 races, and so that's their business model. So they're very rarely going to have horses that are going to fall into the category of being sort of winter track 65 to 75 battlers. She's one that's got a bit of versatility. Very much a horse linked to Stephen Ortridge, Lady Painton. But look, in that race, you're going to call me probably crazy, but Where Are You was out the back door, was scrubbed up for half of it. But I think that she's a horse that could come to hand really fast and probably not win tomorrow, but could run 3rd through to 6th, and you might If you can get sort of $4.50 or $5 a place about her, that could be a way to go. And you want to be backing her when she gets up to 2,000 metres on a heavy track. She just couldn't keep up the first half of the race, but her last 200 metres was very, very good.
Just talking about the Te Akau situation, like, well done to Jamie Richards, taking over that size of business and employing your dad in the same process when you're that young is incredible. He's a very advanced young man, and he is going to be an outstanding Hall of Fame trainer.
So what's the setup going to look like now?
Well, he's going to be the boss, and Paul, his father, will be working for him as the travelling foreman. But in saying that, and I'm very proud of what Jamie's done, I think there's a lot to like about it. But I'm also going to miss Stephen Aldridge being part of that team. I think Stephen Aldridge is one of the genuinely good guys of New Zealand racing. And I'm glad he's going out on his own again. But I do think he added a unique extra to that stable. So
Just a quick question. How old is Joe Waldron, approximately?
I think Joe would be 32 maybe.
I know in New Zealand racing sometimes we sort of look at the future of our riding ranks and our training ranks in dismay, but I look at our training ranks and I see
The sub-40 guys?
some really good guys coming
Stephen
through.
Marsh, Joe Waldron, I think Forsman's 34. Jamie Richards might be 28, I'm not sure. He wouldn't be much over 30.
I don't think he is over 30. He's 29.
When you
maybe.
have that level, and Andrew Carson
encouraging.
down the South Island, it's incredibly encouraging. And then you've
Matt
got
Pittman's won a Group 1 this year.
Matthew
I totally
Pittman's
agree.
another great example.
Yeah, and there's plenty of others we probably haven't named in that bunch. But
Well, the Dennis brothers and...
Well, 10 years ago, I didn't see that coming. 10 years ago, it was Murray and you know, Colin Gillings was just coming into retirement, and you didn't see these younger guys coming through with quite the veracity. And these guys are heading the premiership. And I reckon Murray might retire in a couple of years. I'm not saying he will, but he might, which means you could have the two biggest stables in the country run by two guys under 40. Which would be phenomenal.
And a growing stable with Stephen Marsh, who you get the feeling is a couple of results from maybe exploding into a super stable like Baker Forsman. A couple of staff additions, and all of a sudden you've got this massive hub at Matamata and also Cambridge. That's not to say that there aren't other regions in New Zealand, like, you know, the Pittmans are a massive force in Christchurch, and sometimes when they operate their satellite stables. And then you look in the CD and you sort of ask where are these trainers coming from, and they're there as well. Like Lisa Latter is going to be a stalwart of Central District's training.
John O'Benner.
John O'Benner.
Actually, there's one I did forget, John O'Benner and Haley, of course.
Magnificent
Buston
horse
over in
people.
Australia.
Yep.
So, you know, there is some encouraging things happening in our training ranks, and full credit to the people that are bringing them
and
through,
what's
giving them the
disappointing
chance.
is that here at Trackside, probably the best young presenter we have coming through is Matt, and that's disappointing. Well, that's disproportionate to the level of talent we have coming through in the training ranks. I mean, we're letting ourselves down.
Well, at least we've got Emily Bosson.
Mate, we have Emily is very good.
Should we close the show?
Yeah, and we're getting some new ones. And maybe we could get Tom Wood to come back from Singapore.
Look,
That was the first call plus.
First call plus. Hope you enjoyed
and
it.
he's paid by the word. The joint's now broke. See you later.
Hope you back some winners. Have a good weekend.